Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Thursday, the 20th of January. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your superstore for rock salt, sand, Pelado, mag ice pellets and flakes, and de-icer. And you're going to need de-icer tonight because of the temperatures falling the way they are, and everything else you need to make sure your home is safe. And make sure also your car is safe and cleaned off. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number there. And the address, yes, and the address is 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. That's what it looks like from the outside. And they've got snow blowers. There are your spreaders, some shovels, your snow melting products, and of course the rock salt. So head over to Omni, and the website is. Hold on, Joe. Hold on. Something's wrong here. All right. I am not getting your audio. Not on my board. I hear you. All right, hang on. I'm going to have to do something here. Oh, good Lord, have mercy on us all. I hear you in my headsets now. All right, so I know, Joe. Great, but now you have no audio. So let me switch. I've got everything backwards here. I'm going to have to switch here. Hold on a second. Let's try this. Go ahead. Talk to me. Nope, 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 nope. Hold on. Just a moment. Let's try this.
Well, due to circumstances beyond our control.
Say that again.
Due to circumstances
Yay!
beyond our control.
Gotcha.
Am
Okay.
I here?
Yeah, you're there.
Remember when they had technical difficulties, they'd show up.
Yes, I know.
Thank you, dear.
We fixed it. There's a little feedback. There's a little feedback going on somewhere though.
Yes. Remember when, Channel 5 many years ago, whenever they had technical difficulties, they'd see a slide that say, please stand by, that had like a thumbprint there because it was used so many times. And they'd always play Bert Camford. They'd have a piece from Bert Camford. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And then you'd hear you'd hear one of the staff announcers, Fred Scott or Ed Ladd or Tom Gregory. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Ruthless Goat is right. It
You
would
would
not.
have that, Joe.
It would not be technical It wouldn't be the Joe and Joe show if we didn't have some technical difficulties. Actually, we've been pretty good except for the end last night because I got my new headset with my microphone up here, so I could be just like Joe Rayo. But I'm assuming that you are hearing Mr. Rayo now because I hear his audio coming through not only on my headset, but it's showing up on my board. So no one is saying. Yes, we could go back to doing radio weather on CB radio.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not the most technical person in the world, but I'm not, I can do certain things, and actually for someone my age, I can do a lot more than most people my age. But a lot of this audio stuff and the broadcasting stuff is actually not that simple. Okay, just I have it's like being in a control room on a television show, and I have a board in front of me, so I gotta run the audio, direct I'm the audio guy, the director, the technical director, the producer, the switcher, uh, everybody but the person who runs out and gets coffee. So
yes.
anyway, so
yes.
let's discuss. Oh, it's very easy. I mean, the thing this morning just was from a forecast standpoint was a disaster. I mean, it really was.
Yes.
I mean, I know it was only
absolutely.
It was only for a couple of inches, but Joe, 2 hours. When I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I saw that the temperatures were running 5 and 6 degrees higher than what was being modeled uh, as late last night. Instead of sitting down in the mid 30s and getting ready for the changeover to occur, the temperatures were still sitting up around 40 in a lot of spots, especially down near the coast. I couldn't find anybody below freezing. I couldn't find anybody below freezing until you went north of Poughkeepsie. So those 2 hours.
4 o'clock, 4 o'clock this morning, and my wife will never let me hear the end of this because I woke her, I think, out of a sound sleep or whatever. I got up and I went over to check the sky conditions, and I went to check what the weather was doing. It was raining at that point. Then I went to look at the thermometer. We have a weather station outside. 38 degrees,
Yep.
Joe, at 4 a.m.
Yep.
38 degrees.
So,
And
I think looking back, we were talking about the presentation on the radar and all the convection that was back in Kentucky and Tennessee and all those places moving eastward, and how the radar looked a little bit robust. Well, I think that actually wound up working against us because that robustness held, and there was steady rain for several hours as it arrived, and I think that essentially kind of just nudged the Arctic front a little bit further to the north, made it a little bit slower. So instead of coming through at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., get everybody to change over, it didn't change over till between 8 and 10. And by that time, you only had about an hour to an hour and a half left of snow anyway. So it was just a mess. You know what? Thank goodness it was just
reversed.
Yes.
It was upside down. The places that had the winter weather advisory had a tough time getting any snow at all. They had more wetness than whiteness. And meanwhile, the places north of, let's say, 287, like where I lived and up toward Poughkeepsie, for example, it eventually did go over to snow. I had snow at 7 o'clock in the morning, Joe. It was still, incidentally, 33 degrees, but it had already covered lightly, a light coating on my driveway, 33, which meant that the driveway obviously was just a bit below freezing. But we started getting very slowly an accumulation. I got 1 inch. My wife, who drove up to Hopewell Junction, had approximately 1.5 inches. And there were places in and around the Orange County and northern Westchester, and that had anywhere between like 1 and 2 inches. And the areas that had very little snow, if any snow at all, were to the south.
Yep.
And that had the whole forecast got turned upside down. The places that were supposed to get it didn't, and the places that were supposed to get a minimal amount of snow, if anything, got it.
Got it.
So there you
Yep.
go.
And as I have said this many times, I think I work harder for those small events. I think you work harder and stress more over the small events than you do over the bigger ones. Because the bigger ones, well,
right,
it's a different kind of stress. But when you're fighting for just a coating to 1 inch or 2, and you don't get it, you're not happy. You're not a happy camper. All right. So anyway, we take our licks with the wet noodle, and now it's on to the next one, whenever that happens to be. David Fuller is our first super chat hit tonight, Joe, and we thank David, who got barely enough to put it on a few blades of grass where he is in Monmouth County. I just want to let everybody know, by the way, that if you are on the meteorologist Joe Chaffee weather app and you have an iPhone, the app has not been working for the last couple of months because of some issues I had to deal with Apple. Those issues were solved back on Tuesday, so the app is now working again. It's free. If you haven't downloaded it, just go to the App Store, put meteorologist Joe Chaffee or just my name, Joe Chaffee, and download the MJC weather app. And it's also available on Google Play. And it works anywhere, by the way, in terms of your local weather. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in the New York, New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England zone. You could be anywhere in the country to be able to pull down your local radar and your local weather. And I think we got one more super chat hit in there. I see a second one, and that's from Ruthless Goat, our buddy in Colorado, in Loveland, who's gone from dealing with fires to dealing with some snow from time to time. And yes, Tom Contino, the app has every single snow forecast map from the Weather Service from Maine all the way down to Georgia. They have the ice maps on there too, and they update automatically when the Weather Service updates them. And it's you're not getting the GFS or the European snow calculations that are going to change every 6 hours. Uh, so better to use the Weather Service numbers for sure because they usually only change those twice a day. Like a broken
Yeah, you know
clock.
that
They're right twice a
I
day.
don't. I'm not here to knock the folks over at the Weather Service. Of course, we have one of our good friends, Bill Goodman, works at the Weather Service in Upton.
Upton.
Yeah. But yesterday, I was curious. I said to myself, okay, let's see what they're going for in terms of snow amounts. And they actually issued the advisory before they issued the forecast. And in fact, they did not issue the forecast for last night, the overnight forecast. Usually have it up like by 3 o'clock, 3:30 or whatever, 3:45 at the latest. Not until like almost a few minutes before 5 o'clock, Joe. I'm saying to myself, what's going on over there that they haven't issued an updated forecast yet? Um, they had, like I said, they had the advisory posted, which ended up wrong. Well, we
Right.
all ended up wrong on that guy. But I mean, they got that out well in advance. But they did the actual forecast. You had to wait until almost like 5 o'clock for, and I guess they had to get it out by 5 because a lot of radio stations in the area, they need to read that forecast to
I,
be able to
oh, I think I think
monitor the
all
meteorologist.
I think all the forecast offices try to get their advisories up between 3 and 4, and then they put their
Right.
forecast out right after that. It's all there was that big problem, of course, with WPC where the discussion was correct, but the maps were from some snowstorm. Uh, I don't. I have no idea from when. The only thing I could think of, actually, now it comes to mind because today is the chairman Scott Briller reminded me that today is the anniversary of the 2016 storm that set the all-time snow record by a tenth of an inch in New York City, if you recall. The 27, what is it, 27.1? And in fact, I can bring up. I'm going to do that. Now that I think of it, I think that must have been the storm that we were seeing on WPC's maps because they had that foot plus running up the I-95 corridor from Eastern Virginia to just shy of Boston. And just now thinking off the top of my head, I bet you uh, that's what the computer pulled up was that particular storm, in my never to be humble opinion. So that was back in 16, correct, or 17? 16.
I think 16. I think it was
Yeah.
16. January of 16. And
And
I remember,
yeah, because it was a Saturday. Hang
and I
on.
remember exchanging it. I remember exchanging an email with you with that storm, and you said something to the effect like, "It's times like these I like to take a nail and hammer it into my head, or
Yeah.
an ice pick."
Yeah. Why was I upset? That I was gravitating to the ice pick.
Well, I think the reason was, if you remember, with that storm, that was the storm where the NAM for like 5 straight days, or all the way out through the 84-hour cycle, was saying New York would get clobbered with like 20 and 30 inches of snow, and the global models kept saying it'd be more like a 4 to 8 inch storm, something that could be handled or whatever. And
Right.
at the last minute, all of a sudden, the global model said, "Hey, the NAM has a good idea. We're going to go with that same 20 to 30 inch
I
total."
mean, I do
And
remember.
I asked you about,
I do
I know,
remember
what,
sweating it
what are you going to
out.
do?
I do
Oh,
remember
God. I
sweating
mean,
it
like,
out.
yeah,
Now, why
yeah.
can't I get this? I got. Wait, it's January 20th of 16. Wait, why
Are
is
you
this?
looking for that particular storm?
Yeah, I can't find it. It's like the date's off for
I think
some
it was the
reason.
22nd, I think it was the 22nd and 23rd
Oh, okay, maybe that's
of,
what it
of
was.
yeah.
All right, here we go. So we are upcoming on the anniversary then this weekend. Let's see if the well, for some reason I can't get the maps to load correctly. Oh wait, here it comes. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. So we might as well. I mean, there's your low, your low, but more importantly, there's your cold high in Minnesota, and it's enveloped all the way around. And I mean, for high pressure, for a cold Arctic air mass, this wasn't actually not a particularly cold Arctic air mass. It was just cold enough. You had the high up in Minnesota, just kind of enveloped all the way around. I'll widen it out just a little bit more so you could see it better. And also, I'll put the map on the screen because I think that would probably help now that I've got it up there. It's been a long week, Joe. It's been a long 2 weeks. Here we go. So there it is. And all right, so there's your low down in northern Georgia. Your high is up back in Minnesota, and the low took an absolutely perfect track up the East Coast, redeveloped there right off North Carolina. But think back to the storm just from Sunday. And you could see the difference here because the high is not sitting out east of Cape Cod. The high is back up in the western Great Lakes, and it's got this arm that's pushed around, so it's pressing in the cold air. And here comes your low off the coast east of Norfolk, then continues to just very slowly work its way to the east. Actually, passed south of the benchmark, but close enough. And we got clobbered with 2 feet of snow in New York City by a tenth, by I think 1/10 of an inch, set the all-time record for snowfall. But that
They did
didn't,
make a
and that didn't happen today. Okay, that did not happen today. Let's be clear about that.
yes. I'm in another location here for the moment.
Oh, where'd you go?
I just went to get more water.
Oh, okay. So Joe, after he gets his water, is going to be monitoring the chat board tonight, as I can't at the moment. And I've got the latest radar, such as it is. We still have, actually, there's still precip offshore, sitting southeast of Cape Cod and running down into southern Delaware and the Delmarva Peninsula, and raining all through the southeast. Hasn't gotten cold enough yet, but it will do so shortly, or relatively shortly, as we go through the overnight and then certainly for tomorrow. And as far as watches and warnings are concerned, we have winter storm warnings up for much of eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. Ice storm warnings for 2 counties down in the southeastern part of the state around Wilmington, and also on the South Carolina side, which includes, by the way, the always popular place to go, Myrtle Beach. We also have winter storm warnings up for South Texas for ice and maybe a little bit of snow on the northern end. I'm not sure if they're going to wind up having to adjust that a little bit. And we have advisories still surrounding the parishes of the parishes surrounding New Orleans, and also along the Mississippi and Alabama coast for some ice. So this storm that's going to be developing is a non-factor for the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. It's not going to come anywhere close. And I do have some snow forecast amounts for that area from the Weather Service office. This is from Raleigh-Durham. So you can see those. You go further to the west, we're talking about less than an inch when you get out near Winston, and Charlotte's literally on the edge of just seeing flurries. And then you go east and you go to Sanford, 1 to 2, Durham, 1 to 2, Roxborough, 1 to 2, and then Raleigh on the edge there of 2 to 3. Well, they're on the 1 to 2 side. Just to the east of Raleigh, you start to get into numbers like 2 to 3, and then you head over to Rocky Mount, and that's where you start to get into the 3 to 4 inch amounts. Also, further east, where we have winter storm warnings, Williamsburg 3 to 4, Norfolk forecast to get 4 to 6, and you can see right on the coast near Newport News, Virginia, in a 6-inch plus zone, as is just east of Elizabeth City to the northern part of the Outer Banks in northeastern North Carolina. And ice is also going to be an issue, by the way. And this is the did I get two views here? Yeah, I got two maps here. So here's the next one. So ice, where we have the ice storm warning up, looking at some places getting up to a third or even a half an inch of ice accretion on the North Carolina side, and even budging into South Carolina. But close to the coast, the ice accretion is going to be a tenth of an inch or less. And then you get to also lower amounts as you go north and west towards Florence and points further north up into northern South Carolina there. But it's not going to impact a large area across the South. It's mainly confined to the coastal areas, and then the storm is going to go goodbye and head out. No chance of it coming up here. So I'm just getting rid of some of these maps so I can free up a few windows. And there you go. Like I said, it's been. I'm tired. I'm just really tired tonight. It's been a long couple of weeks, and I'm actually very much looking forward to
Yeah,
tomorrow and Saturday.
you talk about tired. I mean, today I had 1 inch of snow. Big deal, Joe Rayo, 1 inch of snow. But you don't understand. First of all, I have a very long driveway. So I needed to clear that. I have a back deck. I needed to clear that. I needed to clear off an area on the side of the house and also the downstairs patio. That 1 inch of snow took me 3 hours to clear. It's much too much. It's not enough really to break out the snow blower. 1 inch of snow, and I kept looking up and saying to myself, we had basically a broken cloud cover, and I'm saying if only that blankety blank sun could break through for a short while just to help me.
Yeah,
Help me. I know right at the midday hours. It finally did start to help around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but by that time I was pretty much all done. But I agree. In terms of being tired, I am tired, and that's
yeah.
because of all the stuff that I did out there today.
WPC, speaking of snow, they've got the 50% plus line for at least two, southern Delmarva Peninsula into North Carolina there. And I'll bring up the four, and they're showing also a 50% chance of at least four in southeastern Virginia and the southernmost part of the Delmarva Peninsula, and also into northeastern North Carolina. So that's really where it's all going to play out. And there's nothing that I saw in the long range that was worth noting. That includes the fantasy storm that was done on the 12Z run, and we'll bring that subject up in a little bit. But on the long range, and WPC's got their maps fixed up tonight, thankfully. We're seeing around the Great Lakes. That's for I'm just trying to set all the parameters here so this map works correctly. So this is for uh, Sunday into Monday. So they really don't have anything going on. Monday into Tuesday, we have a little we have it looks like an Arctic front with a little bit of Gulf moisture that gets involved. That doesn't really makes much of a difference anyway. Most of the snow with that is around the lakes where they have a 10 to 30% chance. So this is Monday into Tuesday. Tuesday into Wednesday, they've got a 10% chance down into northern New Jersey and northern Pennsylvania, 10 to 30, and then you see the higher amounts up in Maine and in parts of New Hampshire and Vermont. And then after that on Thursday, it's all whatever's left over in eastern Maine. So I mean, it really does, Joe. It looks, except for whatever comes through Tuesday, which really looks like, mostly just a frontal passage and a non-event in my book. Much of next week looks pretty quiet. It'll be cold most of the time, but it'll be pretty quiet.
I agree. And in fact, we may be seeing. I presume the next thing you're going to do is to talk about events beyond, let's say, next week. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
the long range.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
because
Um,
because Climate Prediction Center, and in fact, I'm going to bring it up right now. If you can allow
yes.
sharing capabilities, I will. I will
Excuse
show
me.
you.
Yes,
Bless
right.
you.
Thank you. By the way, I'm down to 30 degrees here, so I think I have a little bit of freezing drizzle going on outside.
Well, we're down to 21, I think, right now. So
Nice. You got 10. You're probably going to get down to 10 tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, no question.
So you can share.
Now
Hang
I have it.
on.
Yes, I'm about to do that right
All
now.
right, hang on.
This came out today.
Hang on. I got to put that up there. Go ahead. You got the board.
Well, this as you can see, this is the monthly temperature outlook. They've already made the I don't know why they're doing it now. They should have if they do it twice each month for the next month. And usually this would come out, I would suppose, on the 15th or the 17th or whatever. But of course, that was a holiday last at the beginning of this week. So they waited until now, the 20th of January, to issue the February forecast and check out that forecast for our part of the country, or at least the northeast part of the country, Joe, above normal. I'm trying to figure out now where does that the 1, 2, 3. So they have a 50 to 60% probability. They're leaning above, or actually now that's likely above. So they're saying likely above normal for the month of February, a milder month coming up in February, as opposed to some of the frigid conditions we are going through right now.
Right. But what we don't know,
Thought you might find.
but I don't know. And I listen. It does appear because over the last 4 or 5 days, we've seen the operational runs of the GFS uh, bring the trough back into the western states and some ridging in the eastern part of the United States and that dreaded Aleutian high that we had in December it pops up again. The question is how long does that last? Are we we pretty much spent the whole month of December in that ridge east trough west pattern. We're going to spend the whole month of January in the trough east ridge west pattern. So are we going to go the whole month of February that way, or is it going to be a short period and then we're going to see things change around again? I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. I did notice on climate models that on the weeklies on the CFS model, which is also known as can't forecast and then use the S word. It does tend to bring more of a normal look to the upper air toward the second half of February, or maybe toward the latter, the last week of February and going into the month of March. But who knows with that model, because it's notorious for doing things, especially when it comes to putting troughs in the east, because it's done it numerous times where it put the trough in the east, trough in the east, trough in the east, and then when we get to that time frame, where's the trough? In the west. So, and where's the ridge? In the east. So, uh, but I definitely, I mean, I'm getting more and more. I'm pretty convinced that we are going to see, the ridge go back in the west. I don't know how strong the ridge. I'm sorry, the trough go back in the west. I just don't. I don't know yet in my mind how strong the ridge in the east is going to be. Maybe it'll be a flatter ridge, or maybe not. I don't know. That's I think that's obviously a short range problem.
Well, you could see the monthly precipitation outlook for February, and they have, how's that? Equal chances. So it's a coin toss. We either would be above or below normal. The above normal is not too far away to the west, covering much of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley as well. I would suppose that any modest amount of cold air that might allude to some snowy conditions, as it normally is the case anyway, at least over Michigan and Wisconsin. So we'll see how that all plays out. I want to show you something though, Joe. On I'm going to show you the 6 to 10 day projection for precipitation. Now you look at this. This is for the 26th through the 30th of January, and you see that I would have to say that conservatively, 70% of the country is projected to see below normal, and in some cases even a tad even lower than that in terms of precip across the Great Lakes, the Midwest, and the southwestern states. Now you look at this and you say to yourself, all right, so what possibly could change over just a few days' time? The 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook. You'd figure, well, there's a little area of moisture poking up over South Texas. Maybe that'll poke more into the nation's midsection, and maybe this will get shoved to the west, and maybe this will get shoved to the east or whatever. Watch what happens between the projection for the 6 to 10 day precip outlook across the contiguous United States and also Alaska. And watch what happens now from 6 to 10 to 8 to 14 days. Are you ready for this? Watch this.
That's not that whole green.
Boom.
So the whole most of the country all of a sudden is above.
How did that happen?
That
was such a short span of time.
That makes no and they overlap. The 6 to 10 overlaps this one by 2 days. 2 of the days overlap here. So that's bizarre. That is just so strange.
The only thing I could think of is that there's some kind of a system down here over the Central Gulf, which suddenly, over a matter of just a couple of days, just blossoms and goes straight up here and spreads all of this schmutz all over from west to east across the United States. But if you look at that, then that tells you that we're going to finish out the month.
Well,
on a wet note, a white note, I don't know what.
The fantasy storm on the GFS is around. It's in 10 days. It's a day 9, and it's next weekend. So whatever those dates are, the 29th and 30th, I think.
The 28th, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the 2-day overlap. So that's the one that the GFS has. Well, it had that fantasy storm a few days ago, taking it up the mountains again, and then today it had, I'm sure the snow weedies were jumping up and down with that 12Z run that they had. But I'm going to explain a couple of things with what the model's doing, and again, we're in that period here where we're going to see stuff jumping around, and we don't even know if it's real or not. We're still in this pattern where you've got so many puzzle pieces running around. And by the way, I assume that they don't have any kind of mention there on their long range as far as risk. They're just talking about the cold, correct?
In terms of snow, for example?
Well, no. On the map here with the slight and moderate risk, they're just talking about cold here, right? They don't have a storm risk.
That's temperature.
Okay.
You want precipitation. Well, how about snow? So for snow, they have January. I'll move this up here for a second. This is a slight risk for meaningful snow, January 31st to February the 3rd.
Right.
That there's some kind of a major system, I guess it's affecting, and that could be the stuff that comes. That could be part of the fantasy storm, right?
No, that would be probably when we get into the ridge position here in the east. That's something else.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that, because the time frame is going to be next weekend. So it'll be the 29th and 3rd. Well, today's the 20th, so tomorrow's the 21st. So next Friday is the 28th. So so the 29th and 30th, and then after that, we go into the ridge positions. We start to go into the ridge position as that storm pulls out. So their dates are from the 31st to February 3rd. So so that's when we're going. Everything's moving around. What I'm going to try to figure out is how important any kind of development is along the East Coast with respect to the overall pattern change. My guess is probably not a whole lot. Sometimes, when you switch a pattern, when you get a radical switch in the pattern, right before that switch takes place, there's some kind of big storm someplace. Not all the time. Sometimes pattern changes happen very quietly. But sometimes they do happen with something big happening someplace. Which one of those choices it's going to be, I don't. At this point, who knows? But again, the models are going to do what they're going to do, and people are going to jump up and down. For the snow lovers are going to jump up and down in joy for 1 6-hour period, only to weep in despair and gnashing of teeth on the next run. So anyhow,
well, I mean, they bought into the at the beginning of this week that 112Z European that was dumping like a foot of snow on us for the weekend.
Right.
And they were holding they were holding on to that. I guess even in some cases up until yesterday. And I don't even know whether or not they're still thinking that it might happen, as a lark, like maybe, oh, it might turn to the left, it might, you know.
I honestly, I think
Uh,
what happened was they bought it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, they were talking about it, with respect to earlier in the week, and then they had to gradually back away. And even after the point where it became pretty obvious that it was going to be something that was just going to go out to sea well to the south and east, they were hanging their heads on, well, there's still a couple of ensemble members that show the system close to the coast. And I remember reading that and thinking, oh, just give it up already. It ain't gonna happen. It's long gone. So let's look at this, because let's look at this from what's going on in terms of the upper air. I'm gonna go back to that 12Z run, and remember, when we're looking at the upper air, it's always about troughs and ridges and, gears and puzzle pieces and whether they come together or not. And of course, you see the trough here. This is the lagging trough that is going out. And again, you've got barely any northerly flow out in the Atlantic. It's very flat. There's nothing out there. In fact, you could just draw a straight line, go straight across the Atlantic. There are no storms out there to force this system to buckle, the upper trough to buckle like the European had it, and have the low move up the east coast. So it goes out straight east northeast. The tilt of the trough tells you that. And of course, you've got another short wave that's coming down from an upper low in northern Hudson Bay. You've got an upper low that's wrapped up in the southwest, nice strong high off the west coast with the ridge built up into northwest Canada. There's your cold flow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here we go through the weekend. That trough is gone. We kind of get overwhelmed by all this cold air over the weekend. The troughing in the east is there. One arm lifts out. Then you get another arm that swings around. Here you got two pieces. That southwest upper low opens up and moves east across the Gulf states, but it never really phases. If you notice, the northern system's got this very, very broad look to it, while the southern system's a little bit sharper. They never really hook up, which is why on Tuesday we're not really seeing very much in terms of what the model is doing. Plus, the northern stream feature just sort of stretches out, and suddenly you got this huge positively tilted trough that runs from Labrador all the way to Baja California and beyond. So you're not going to really be able to do too much with that. Then that pulls out. We get that shot of cold air behind it. Now, here's where it got interesting, because there's a short wave that's dropping down from Great Slave Lake to Lake Winnipeg. That's right here. You got this southern stream system that was in West Texas. So as the model progressed, and now we're up to a week from today, the northern stream feature digs down like an animal, and you see it there. It makes this major league cutoff low that tracks off the North Carolina, Virginia coast, passes just south and east of New Jersey to Cape Cod, and takes an almost perfect snowstorm track. All right, well, that's, again, that's now we're out, what is that, day 10. It's day 9, day 10 in the long range. Far out in the long range, but not, crazy far, but it's still far out in the long range. Now, what's the difference between that and the current run? All right. The features are actually what I thought was interesting about the 18Z run, Joe, was the fact that the features are actually all still there. Okay. They're not, it's not suddenly, a totally different look. You've got the same idea happening here. Whatever happens, earlier in the week is the same. You've got a southern stream feature that is not quite as sharp, but it's still there. And then you've got the system that's coming down near Lake Winnipeg. But the problem is on this run is that the southern stream feature is so much faster that the northern stream feature doesn't catch up to it until, it's the southern stream goes out. So now you're left with the northern stream that's kind of digging a little trough there into the eastern states, but it's lost that southern stream. It doesn't have that southern stream energy to lift up. So that the storm goes out well to the east, and heads towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and all we get is like a simple upper trough that goes by. And then after that, if you watch how the pattern evolves, it gets cold one more time going into the beginning of the month, one last trough coming through the east. Now you start to see that Aleutian Ridge build right back in here. Here's that big upper high that starts to build back over Alaska and the Aleutians. And suddenly, as we move through the first days of February, February 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, here comes your western trough that digs down. And you know, Joe, when I looked at the surface map that went from this, the first thing I saw, and you kind of know, I've said this a few times, if it's snowing in Seattle, you got a problem in the east. And with that upper air pattern, it's snowing in Seattle. So I'm pretty sure that you're going to wind up seeing, the models are correct. It's just whether again, how long does that stay there? Is it a temporary thing? I don't know. And just for laughs, I'll show you the surface map with regards to the 12Z in case you didn't see it, because this was one of those. One of those when I saw it, it was like I just laughed out loud, really. But there's that Gulf flow. Okay, you got the northern and the southern stream. The north gives all its energy to the southern low. The low explodes. It's a 958 low, Joe. 958. Okay, at about 37 and 74, and it goes right near the benchmark, 40 and 70, as a 950 gale. I mean, that's insane. That was just insane. And when you look at the 18Z, the difference is because that southern stream features run out way out ahead, and the northern energy comes down, and it really doesn't have anything left to work on. Well, you wind up. There's your low, way out ahead, runs out off the Florida coast. Here comes the northern energy, that area of snow you see there in Ohio and back over to western PA, and that's it. You get a low that eventually just pops up there east of 70, goes up into Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and then here comes a cold front. You get some cold air, and then after that, the ridge pops up in the east, and the trough goes out in the west. So
may I make just a notation here?
Yes.
For all of you who you heard 958 millibars, in case you're wondering where that is on the barometer that may be hanging on the wall of your home and office, it is nowhere. It is 28.28 inches of mercury. I mean, I don't even think it's on most barometers. That's how low the pressure is projected to go with that one run of the computer for next weekend. 958 millibars.
Yeah, I mean it's off the wall. That was just so off the wall. All right, so let's do the short range so we can watch what's going on here on at least on the GFS, and this is later Friday into Friday night, the blossoming area of snow and ice in the Carolinas and the southeastern Virginia and the southern Delmarva Peninsula. You see the surface low there that's out east northeast. It goes straight to the east. We've got a high up in Maine, cold dry air just suppressing all of this, and then that goes away. We've got a little weak front on Sunday that just kind of gives a little reinforcement to the cold air going into Monday. And then another Arctic front. I mean, this looks far more menacing than it actually is. Most of this precip is light. If I switch over to the radar, you'll notice, this is really not anything to write home about. I mean, it's all light precip, except, maybe on the other side of the Arctic front back through West Virginia and parts of western Pennsylvania. That could be something for that area that winds up with a couple of, a few inches out of it. And we may actually get a little bit of rain come Tuesday when the Arctic front goes by. Little Gulf moisture there that gets involved. But again, the troughs are all so weak. The lows don't even deepen. The southern system just kind of goes out. And then it's just cold and dry after that. And then you see how, again, the late next week, the system comes out of the Gulf, runs out so far ahead of the northern energy that you wind up getting nothing. So I would suspect that you'll probably see the GFS kind of go back and forth on this. And by the way, for those of you who are now asking me, well, what about the European? Okay, well, what about the European? The European actually
What about the
has.
European?
What about the European? The European actually has a deepening trough into the eastern part of the United States that it tries to go negative with when it gets to the coast. It's not that different from the GFS. The difference is on the European. It's about a day. It's a full day faster. So the outcome is a little bit different here. So I guess you want to look at it and say, well, if the GFS, in a broad sense, since both models have something going on, it's probably worth, still to pay attention to it. And in fact, if you look here, there's your Great Lakes low, and it throws its energy out to an ocean low well east of North Carolina. So this actually, I'm sorry, that's the GFS. I'm sorry. Let me just, I thought I switched over to the European. I guess I didn't. Let's go back. No wonder it looked like the European, the GFS, because it was the GFS. Now there it is. That this is what the European has. The European has a much broader, flatter trough to this, and therefore it's got something much less developed and further out. But it has the idea that there's some kind of trough going into the eastern part of the United States. You got a lot of low pressure there out in the Atlantic, but no real organized low. That's on the 72. Folks, you know how many times I've looked at models all week? After a while, they all start looking the same. Now that Tropical Tidbits added the 18Z run, I have to remember that when I switch off from maps. So I'm tired, okay? You absolutely know I'm tired. There's your system for Friday night, Saturday. It's way out. This is Tuesday. Low up in upstate New York, another one near New Orleans. Then that goes out. Cold air comes in. And it's got something here for Saturday. You can see the low. You can see lower pressures there in the Great Lakes, and suddenly there's a 10-12 low well east of the North Carolina coast, and then it goes out straight east. It's got much more. It's more progressive, on the European, but it's got something there. So the fact that it's got something there, you see the trough it's more north-south, and it just kind of moves along, doesn't lift up. Just kind of carries along, much like what we're seeing now with what's going on off the East Coast. So both models have something. I suspect that we're probably going to have a few, we're going to have runs tomorrow and on over the weekend. That some of them are going to make snow lovers very excited, and again, others are going to make them very depressed. But at least you and I will have the next 2 days off so that we can recover a little bit. I need to recover because, like I said, I am just like absolutely tired. I am exhausted.
Yeah. Yep. Well, the only thing on my plate, from a domestic point of view, and I know my wife is on the chat board. Dear, we definitely must do tomorrow. We must change the water filter, which we're supposed to do at the beginning of the week. When you live in a house with well water, Joe,
which I do,
a filtration system, and we have a filter. We could put in one filter or a double filter, and when you have a one filter, it lasts for about 2 or 3 months. You have a double filter, you go maybe 5 or 6 months. We've had a single filter in there for like 6 months now.
Oh, time to
It
change.
needs to be. It definitely needs to be. It's gotten a shade of brown. I was looking at it this afternoon, and I said, this is one thing we definitely have to take care of tomorrow. So tomorrow we change the filter. That's the one major event coming up. Aside from the fact that I just want to close my eyes right now and go to sleep.
By the way, did we get all the nice crowd tonight? By the way, welcome to those of you watching the show for the first time. Thanks for being here. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that with your Gmail account, so that you get notifications, because the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on 5 days a week. We'll be off tomorrow and Saturday. If there were a storm going on, we would be doing it, but we're taking the next 2 days off, and then we'll be back on for our Sunday morning show. We do a Sunday morning show at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then most weeknight shows we do at 7:30. This week Joe had some talks to do, so library talks to do, so we did the last couple nights we were on at 8:30. 127 likes. Thank you for those of you who hit the like button. Like button. So if you haven't hit the like button and you like the show, hit the like button and make us happy. So let's run through. You got Briller Jeopardy tonight?
No, I don't. 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 I don't not had a chance to look, but I will look right
You
now.
know what? Can you?
And
You know what? Since both of us are, you're exhausted with all the everything you've done, and I'm tired because it's been a long week, and we both had forecasts that didn't work out yesterday for today. So I think maybe we should just call it a night at this point, and then we'll be back on Sunday. Does that work? And then
I
we'll
will not.
we'll hold
I will
this.
not. I'll not argue with you with
Okay,
that. Yes,
we'll
absolutely.
hold this Briller Jeopardy till next Monday, or Sunday. And in the meantime, um, thank you all of you for being here this week. It's been the last couple of weeks have been pretty interesting, and who knows? I've always been of the view that when the models don't show anything is when you should get more excited. So when I saw the 12Z run, I was like, oh god. As a snow lover, I was like, no, it would have been better if it didn't show anything. It's better when it's better when it shows hints in the long range, and you have to figure out that maybe something will happen, and maybe it won't. So look, expect it to come and go over the next 4 or 5 days. You're going to see things jumping around. And don't be surprised if at the end of the day we wind up with something, but we wind up with a low that goes up the east side of the Appalachians like we saw last Sunday. Because in winter times, things like they don't repeat exactly, but they do rhyme. And you may have noticed that most of the snow has been occurring this winter down in the mid-Atlantic states, particularly in the Carolinas. So it wouldn't be a shocker if we wind up with something that sets up down there for them, and we're sitting up here twiddling our thumbs wondering, will it ever get here? So, and then of course after that the pattern changes, and we will have to really develop, well, snow lovers will really have to develop some patience if that pattern change does wind up materializing. So anyway, have a great night. Mr. Rayo, you worked hard this week, so you can have the next 2 days off. I worked hard this week, so you can have the next 2 days off.
We need to no, we need to gain, take some time off to build our strength for the massive storm that's coming a week from this weekend. So if it does
Yes.
come.
Yes, exactly. All right. So, everybody, yes. Nothing's coming this weekend, Joe. Nothing. Nothing.
No, not this weekend. I'm
The,
talking
the,
about
oh,
we're
the
talking about the
weekend
next
the
weekend.
weekend after that.
Yes.
Yes, gotcha.
Right.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Time to say goodnight. Nighty night, everybody, and we'll see you on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time.
Goodbye.